What is up, guys? Taiki here. Today I want to lay out part 2 of my thesis on why I think Canto is going to hit all-time highs. So right now the price of Canto sits at 24 cents. Its previous all-time high is basically a 3x from here, and I think if Canto gets there, it's going to enter price discovery. And I laid out my bull case for Canto last week when the price was 14 cents, now it's at 24. And I do think that, I'm not really sure like how fast or the path on how it's going to get there, but I do expect that, if they are successful with their real-world asset strategy, there's like no reason for why it can't hit all-time highs. So let's kind of go over, the CANTO thesis. So I posted this on Twitter at the same time I uploaded a video. But in order for you to understand the CANTO thesis, you have to understand the maker thesis. A couple months ago, so like July 10th, I started becoming bullish maker, roughly here, and since then, maker has been up only, and the reason for that is twofold. Well, first of all, maker, all their tokens have been vested, so they don't have to deal with all these like new token unlocks, because anyone that wanted to sell has already sold. And if you go to makerburn.com, you see that they're one of the most profitable DAOs in the industry. And I also think that this is underestimated. I think the real annual estimate of annual profits like closer to $85 to $90 million. But who cares about that, right? Where's the profits coming from? Well, Maker owns roughly over $2.5 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries, and short-term Treasuries, and they're all clipping the risk-free rate, which is like roughly 5.5%. And if we're gonna be in this higher rates for longer regime, then I think that, for the next 6, 9, 12 months, Maker is going to be a money printer. And even if the Fed starts cutting rates and let's say it gets to like 4.5%, they're still going to be making a bunch of money. And you can also argue that, maybe that's going to increase the demand for stablecoins. So, that's going to increase the backing that DAI has, and they're going to buy even more treasuries. So a lot of people think that, crypto can't go up if rates are high, and that's probably true for 95% of crypto assets, but there are some assets that can actually benefit for higher rates for longer. And that's one of the reasons why I think, I am very, very bullish Maker, and I do think Maker ETH, the Maker ETH ratio is going to be up only, and it's going to reach parity. So parity is 1, right? So like 1 Maker equals 1 ETH, and since July 10th, it's literally up only, right? From 0.5 to, so Maker ETH is basically up 2x. But in my CANTO thesis, back to CANTO, right? Where does it come in? And, I said that, even most people don't like Maker, right? People just don't like Maker. They think it's down only, they have preconceived biases towards Maker. But I mentioned that if Maker breaches its local highs, looking into other RWA Beta assets like FXS, Canto might be interesting. And at the time it was at 1260, and obviously right now it's 1475, right? And it looks like it wants to go much higher. And I still think that people don't want to own Maker. And I think it makes sense for me as a trader, look into other smaller coins. Because for example, flashback to Q1 of 2023, when Lido started going up, and then a bunch of LSD coins started going up, regardless of quality. Maker is up a lot, and Maker is a quality asset, but nothing else has played catch up, and I think it's about to change as Maker continues to catch people off guard. And the reason why I think Maker is such an interesting asset is that these are structural inflows, right? And every time government interest payments hit the chain, the DAO buys $20,000 worth of Maker every 2 hours or so. This only happens when the system surplus is above $50 million. So this thing gets depleted every so often. It kind of looks like this. But I kind of consider Maker to be an asset where every 2 weeks or every month it's going to buy back a few $1 million of their own token, right? That's just kind of the asset that Maker is. And if you look at my channel analytics, so this is for me as a YouTuber, every time I upload a video, I lose subscribers. You can kind of see, which is kind of crazy, right? And some people ask me why does this show? Are you hiding your revenue? No, I just don't run ads. Okay, I'm one of the few YouTubers that don't run ads on my channel. So it's kind of, that's kind of why it is. But this is pretty sad, right? And it's sometimes discouraging when I see this, but I'm still out here grinding. And for that reason, I was able to identify such a quality play like Canto. Who knows? Obviously, I don't know if it's gonna go up, but there are many reasons. For example, sentiment, right? People hate Canto. If you thought people hate Maker, people hate Canto more, right? Because people got burned. But like I mentioned, they're going to introduce their entire new strategy. So I don't think you can really look at the past price to determine where it's going to go. You kind of have to reevaluate Canto as a whole new different asset. They did migrate to like a Polygon ZK VM layer 2, but I think it's a meme, right? Like who cares about this, right? But if people start like valuing this as like an L2, maybe that could be interesting. So right now it's like in layer 2 or slash layer 1 with $250 million market cap. And if you kind of compare the market cap to other L1s, I mean, like look at this, right? Like Kava, $500 million, Phantom, 600 million, Algorand, $1 billion, Caspa, 1 point. I mean, like who the hell uses these chains? Like no one uses these chains. So like why can't Canto like flip all these like, less quality L1s to be a little PC and like I mentioned for Maker, like Tether, right? Like these stablecoin issuers make so much money. Tether made $1.5 billion in profits in Q1, and Maker is the only way for the public markets to gain exposure, because as a retail investor, how do I buy into Tether equity? There's like no way. And Canto is going to enter this trend as well. They're going to bring real world assets on chain through partnerships with Fortunify, Hashnote, and they're going to basically copy the Maker playbook where Canto has their own stablecoin called Note, and that's going to be backed by T-bills. So Note is going to be yielding like roughly 5%, and they're probably going to introduce Canto emissions on top. So you'll probably be able to earn like, I don't want to give exact numbers because I don't work for them. I'm literally just like an independent analyst. But it's probably going to be like 10% ish at least. Like just by holding stablecoins, like 5% coming from like real yield, and then like 5% plus coming from Canto emissions. Evaluations there. And, if you kind of view it, and going into this other thread here, how does Canto hit all-time highs? Well, it's basically an L1/L2. So TVL is directly correlated to the price of the governance, or sorry, like the L2 token. And the previous all-time high was roughly 200 million. And I'm basically making a bet that it's going to get up there. And if it gets like 500 million 500 million TVL, then I would expect, Canto price to also go up. And you kind of zoom in here, right? That the TVL into Canto has kind of gone parabolic in the past couple of days. I do expect this trend to continue. If you look at the stablecoin inflows into Canto, we saw $7 million on the 3rd, probably more yesterday, probably more today. I mean, probably like basically it's going to be in an uptrend. And like, why do I believe this? I mean, first of all, if you look at the amount of DAI in the DSR. So the DSR, you can stake DAI into the DSR and earn 5%, right? And where does it come from? T-bills. And, like since inception, I mean, the TVL has gone up. So if people are comfortable staking DAI for 5%, then why wouldn't they feel comfortable staking Note for, let's say, 10%? Of course, DAI is infinitely, or maybe not infinitely, like multiple times safer, right? It's battle tested. It's been around for a lot longer than Note. So, you have to, there's like a risk premium there. But, like I expect more TVL to come in because who doesn't like stablecoin yields? And also, if you look into Canto.io, you can be a liquidity provider to earn Canto emissions, and right now you can LP for Canto Atom, be paid 100%, Canto ETH 86%, Canto Note 123, and I think this is like way too high, and that's not really a bad thing. I just think that it's just, like this thing needs to be diluted, right? I think the TVL needs to double into these LP pools, and like maybe like the equilibrium rate is going to be like 30 to 60% APY. I mean, obviously I have no idea, right? But like I mean. People say yield farming is dead, and I do agree. Like 95% of yield farming is like pretty dead. But this is probably one of the best yields in the industry right here. And then you can LP for Note USDT and 12%, earn 12% in Canto. But let's talk about the Note stablecoin in case you're interested. So Note, right, is an over collateralized stablecoin backed by USDC and USDT, and I believe it's an 80% LTV ratio. So if you use 100 USDC as collateral, you can mint 80 Note max. But when they release their RWA strategy, KYC individuals can mint Note at a much more capital efficient way. So if Note is trading above peg, more TVL should flow in, so that like these rich people, like these funds, will like arbitrage on the peg. So like I mentioned, right? Going back to the screenshot, every time the Note price goes from $1 to $1.02 and beyond, it's typically a good leading indicator for future inflows into the ecosystem, as well as, future inflows means Canto price goes up, right? Because that's kind of how, maybe that's not really how it works, but that's kind of like the precedent. And since I updated this thread, note is at $1.01. I know it says $1 here, but it's like 1.0097. It's basically 101. And going to the question of like, how does like this peg get back to $1, right? Because it should be, it should trade at $1. And then let's talk about like the carry trade or the arbitrage. So let's say, like whenever they launch their RWA strategy, any fund can like basically buy $1 million with T-bills that's yielding 5% and then mint tokens against it. And those T-bill tokens are going to be earning 5.3, I mean, I don't really know, like 5.3%, let's say. And these funds, they can borrow note against it, let's say $900,000. And the loan to value ratio for these funds are going to be different from like what retail can do. So like, just let that be known. And if note is at 102, you can sell 900K of note into $918,000 with the USDC, right? 900K times 102. And then that USDC can be redeemed for $980,000 worth of T-bills. And then you can kind of like do this loop as long as it's above peg. And I mean, anyone can do this right now, right? If you expect this to happen, like anyone can do this. For example, like this whale address called Blur, you can go to the transactions here. And if you kind of this person's known for being like a Canto bull, but like let's kind of, sorry, let me kind of zoom in here so you can kind of see like what this person's doing. So there you go. So 21 hours ago, they swapped $2.6 million worth of DAI into USDC, or they bridged like $2.9 million into Canto, right? And they started minting a bunch of note against it. Right? For example, minting 150K worth of note, sell 20K of note into 20.2K of USDC. So, if note gets back to peg, then, you can sell your USDC back to note and then just keep, those profits, right? It's literally like free arbitrage, as long as you believe in the peg, right? So, like more like $3 million into USDC into the lending market, mint more note, arbitrage, just make basically free money. And, like it basically like, the TLDR is that, if note is trading above peg, it incentivizes more people to bridge into the ecosystem, which, of course, right, increases TVL. If TVL goes up, then the fundamentals of Canto look better. Price goes up. If price goes up, like the farming yields look better. So more people bridge, TVL go up. It's kind of like this flywheel. And this is basically the bet I made, like at 14 cents. And, obviously, I think I talked about it here, right? Obviously, like I'm making a bunch of assumptions here. If they launch or delay, right? If they delay things because it's crypto, there's always delays. Or they launch and it flops, right? As in like it sucks, then I'm wrong. Okay, I'm happy to be wrong. There is literally no such thing as like free money, right? In crypto, or like an easy bet, like guaranteed money. I'm like literally just sharing you my research, my thought process, and then you as an adult can make a decision for yourself. I'm just dude on the internet posting research. I have no idea what's going to happen. And let's see, I think I mentioned it here. Or maybe I didn't mention it here, but like this, I don't have a crystal ball, right? This thesis. Like I said, I am pretty surprised by like how up only it has been. But my mindset is, if they launch successfully and TVL booms, I think Canto is going to enter price discovery. Unsuccessful launch, I'll admit that I'm wrong on the thesis, and people can make fun of me. But I'm like just putting myself out there. I'm not afraid of being wrong. I like just research in public, basically. Anyways, if you want like more content, I am the founder of this research firm, so feel free to subscribe. I post out free research almost every single day, so I think that's great. And if you want to upgrade your research and trading, check out the HFA Premium Research. I post 3 weekly videos every single week, 2 premium videos, 1 live stream, and for example, like I was like talking about Canto like way before then, so just like something to be aware of. There are some Canto analytics dashboards that I think is kind of interesting, but the thing is like maybe this is a bad thing, maybe this is like just bearish, but yeah, maybe this is bearish, but like the data analytics for Canto is like so bad, and I was asking people like what the market cap note is, and it's like 14 million. And in order for my Canto thesis to like play out, kind of zooming out here at the TVL, like the node market cap like has to get to like 100 million, right? Like otherwise like the thesis isn't going to play out. But like obviously the maker thesis obviously is playing out. So I don't really see why the Canto thesis can't play out. But in terms of risks, let's see. They keep like I mentioned, they keep delaying. Farmers dump on me, right? Because you can farm it here, right? Yields are great. No one bridges to Canto. The bridge is like very, very janky. It's been a while since I bridged to a chain, and like my funds didn't arrive for like an hour, and I was like kind of panicking. So there's always that risk. Chain remains dead. I mean, it's pretty dead. Or maker tops. Okay, like that's kind of like the risks that I've outlined. But Canto is a pretty liquid coin, so let's kind of go here. It's a pretty liquid coin. So, there's, what is this? 12, let's say 14. There's like $18 million worth of liquidity on Canto on chain. So that's pretty liquid, right? It's not like this is like some like random low cap. It's a very liquid token. And of course, like the liquidity is being subsidized by token emissions. But it's one of those tokens where, there are no VCs, right? And if a VC wants to buy Canto, they have to buy in the open market. Okay, like a lot of VCs, like they don't like buying from the open market, right? Because that's not their edge, right? Their edge is just like fondling the testicles of like crypto founders and getting good deals. So if the RWA thesis like plays out, and if there's like some FOMO in the fund space, I think that's also like a catalyst. There's like no centralized exchange listings, or like major centralized exchange listings. So like that's also one. And even like some certain like trading like prop firms like funds have started to like buy into the thesis. So like for me, I honestly think that like we're still early. I think it takes people time to adjust to a new meta. I think a lot of people dislike RWAs because it goes against what they believe crypto should be. But like in all honesty, like how does crypto and DeFi come back and hit like all-time highs in TVL if not for real world assets? I just like don't see a future like where like RWAs aren't a big thing in crypto. So like my entire investment thesis for the past couple of months is coming to terms. So like back in June, July, I was like, what, like DeFi sucks. Okay, like there's like nothing on chain. There's like very few things on chain that actually creates value. So I'm like, what? Like, I think we have to, bring value from off-chain to from the real world to on-chain, and then that's how, crypto can come back, right? People can build financial instruments on top of tokenized treasuries, and then that's how like we can have like the next bull market. And if that's my thesis, then I'm gonna be bullish stablecoin issuers. So I'm not like literally like saying Canto up only because for the sake of like Canto being hated or whatever. Like I have an actual thesis around it, and I could be wrong, I could be right, who knows. But hopefully this video was kind of useful in just like laying out why I think certain things will happen. And in order for me, right, like like I mentioned, there's like no one like in crypto, right? So if you want to make money, I think you kind of have to be contrarian. I think you have to look at places where other people are not looking, and just be bullish when people are bearish, and then start to become more neutral to bearish once like people just say it's like up only, right? Because we're still in like this type of meta, right? Relatively PvP. No new money is entering the ecosystem. Maybe that's going to change in the future, but that's kind of my bet here. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys another time, and let me know what you think of Canto. Bye bye.